rejected as his mate for 7 years, until the Alpha King fell to his knees and begged for her bond. A full werewolf romance audiobook by Shadow Howell's Tale. Mira Newton stood before the mirror watching her maid fasten her gown. Another ball, another night of invisible suffering. "You look stunning, Luna," the maid whispered. Stunning and completely unseen, Mira thought. Her sister Vivian burst in. "Are you really going after last month when he ignored you completely?" "I'm Luna. My absence would be noted." "So is your presence. Just not by him." 7 years of this. 84 nights of dressing up for a man who wouldn't dance with her, wouldn't acknowledge their bond, wouldn't even look at her. "When do you stop waiting, Mira?" Tonight, something inside her whispered, "Tonight I will stop waiting." The castle bells chimed. "Tonight will be different," her maid said hopefully. Mira's reflection stared back, beautiful, poised, alone. "Yes," she said quietly, "perhaps it will. Because tonight, Alpha Declan would be there, with an offer." What Mira didn't know, her husband had read that message, and when she put her hand in another Alpha's, the king who'd rejected her for 7 years would finally fall to his knees. Chapter 1. The Night She Stopped Waiting. The royal pack's grand ballroom glittered with 1,000 candles, but Mira Newton felt cold. She sat at the high table, spine straight, hands folded in her lap. Around her, the spring equinox ball swirled with color and movement, visiting alphas in formal dress, political alliances being forged over champagne, mating dances that would be whispered about for months. The air hummed with pack energy, wolves recognizing wolves, bonds forming and strengthening. And beside her, as always, an empty chair, her husband's seat, perpetually vacant when she was near. Pack members passed the high table, their eyes sliding away from hers. She'd become the thing no one mentioned, the rejected Luna, the fated mate bond, the living proof that even fate could make mistakes. Her wolf stirred restlessly beneath her skin, sensing him nearby, always nearby but never close enough. The mate bond pulled like a fishhook lodged in her sternum, dragging her toward someone who kept stepping back. The ballroom doors opened. Phillip Mark entered with Lady Sarah of the Northern Packs on his arm, and Mira's chest tightened. They were laughing, actually laughing, his head tilted toward Sarah's as she said something that made his eyes crinkle at the corners. Mira had never made him laugh, not once in 7 years. He led Sarah to the dance floor, his hand settling at her waist with easy familiarity. The pack watched, then their eyes slid to Mira, waiting for her reaction. She gave them nothing. Her face remained serene, composed, every inch the dignified Luna. Inside, she was screaming. "Luna Mira," a voice said. One of the pack elders, her smile tight with judgment. "Perhaps if you made more effort to engage the Alpha King." The implication hung in the air. "This is your fault." Mira's hands tightened in her lap. 7 years. For 7 years she'd made effort. She'd been gracious, politically astute, everything a Luna should be except the one thing that mattered, wanted. She watched Philip spin Sarah across the floor, and suddenly she was back at their wedding, the last time he'd touched her. The moment he'd released her hand like it burned, stepping back before the priest had even finished the blessing. Her wolf howled inside her chest, desperate and confused. "Mate," it whispered, "why won't he—" Luna Mira. She looked up. Alpha Declan of the Western Territories stood before the high table, tall and golden-haired with warm brown eyes that actually saw her. You look lovely tonight, he said, bowing. The compliment hit her like a physical touch. When was the last time someone had, "Would you honor me with a dance?" The protocol said she should wait for her mate to ask first. Mira glanced at Philip. He was twirling Sarah again and hadn't looked at Mira once all evening. "I'd be delighted, Alpha Declan." Whispers followed them to the dance floor. "Is that appropriate? Her mate is right there." Bold of her, Declan led her into the waltz with confident ease. Unlike Philip, he talked, asked about her interests, her thoughts on the treaty negotiations currently stalling between their territories. "Your insights on the territorial disputes were brilliant," he said. Mira blinked. "You heard about that?" "Everyone heard about it." His smile was genuine. "Well, everyone except your mate, apparently." Something loosened in her chest. When had she last laughed? When had anyone treated her like her thoughts had value? "Your mate is a fool," Declan said quietly as they turned. "He's the Alpha King. He's many things, but not a fool." "Any man who leaves you alone night after night? Who refuses the gift of a fated mate?" His eyes were intense. "Yes, Luna Mira, he's a fool." Her throat tightened. "You don't know our circumstances." "I know you deserve better than invisibility." Across the ballroom, Philip missed a step. His eyes snapped to Mira and Declan, watching his mate smile, genuinely smile, at another alpha. His wolf snarled inside him, "Mine." He shoved it down. He'd been doing that for 7 years. He could do it for one more dance. But his hands were clenched into fists. When the music ended, Declan escorted Mira back to the high table. Instead of leaving, he sat in the empty chair, Philip's chair. Pack members stared, scandalized and thrilled. "I have a proposition for you," Declan said, leaning close. "Leave with me. Tonight." Mira's breath caught. I'm married. To a man who doesn't want you, a bond he's rejected for 7 years. His gaze held hers. "I'm not asking you to betray your vows. I'm asking you to save yourself. Come to my territory. See what it's like to be valued. If you choose to return, I'll bring you back myself." He paused. "But Mira, don't you want to know what it feels like to be someone's first choice? Everything she'd ever wanted, being offered by someone else." Her wolf was confused. The bond said Philip, but Philip said no. 7 years of rejection versus 1 night of genuine desire. "Look at him." Declan nodded toward the dance floor. Philip was dancing with Sarah again, still laughing, still not looking at Mira. "He's had 7 years to choose you. He hasn't. Don't waste another 7 hoping he'll change." Declan stood, offering his hand. "My carriage leaves in an hour. I'll be waiting at the eastern gate." He kissed her knuckles, forward, possessive, deliberate. "Please come, Mira. Let someone finally choose you." Mira sat alone at the high table after he left, his offer ringing in her ears. Looked at Philip, still dancing, still laughing, still not looking at her. Something inside her broke, not dramatically, quietly. The way hope dies when you finally stop feeding it. Decision made. She stood, walking toward the ballroom exit. Her heart pounded, but her steps were sure. For the first time in 7 years, she was choosing herself. Mid-spin, Philip saw her leaving, heading toward the eastern wing, toward Declan. Something visceral ripped through him. His wolf roared, "Where is she going?" "Excuse me," he said abruptly to Sarah, not waiting for a response. He followed at a distance, watched Mira enter her chambers. 20 minutes later, she emerged in a traveling dress, carrying a small bag. She was leaving. Actually leaving. His vision flashed gold. 7 years of control, 7 years of denial, 7 years of convincing himself he was doing the right thing. It shattered. At the eastern gate, Declan's carriage waited. "You came," he said, helping her inside. "I almost didn't." Mira settled into the seat. "But I did. I'm choosing myself finally." She looked back at the palace one last time. "Stop!" The Alpha command ripped through the courtyard. Every wolf froze, guards, servants, even Declan. Mira's wolf submitted, but Mira herself turned slowly. Phillip emerged from the shadows, eyes pure gold, wild and undone. "No," she said quietly. The command broke. "You don't get to do this now, Phillip." He crossed the courtyard in predatory strides. Declan moved protectively in front of Mira. "Luna has made her choice, Alpha King." "She's my mate," Phillip snarled. "You rejected that bond for 7 years." Phillip's eyes never left Mira. "Get out of my way. Or what? Start a war over a mate you've publicly rejected?" "Mira," his voice cracked. "Don't do this." She stepped around Declan, facing him. They were 3 feet apart, closer than they'd been in years. She could smell him, pine and winter wind and something uniquely him. The bond pulled, desperate and hungry. "Don't do this?" Her voice was eerily calm. "Don't do what exactly?" "Don't leave, don't go with him. Give me one reason why I shouldn't." He opened his mouth. Nothing came. "That's what I thought." She turned toward the carriage. "Because you're mine." She froze, turned. "Yours? I've been yours for 7 years, Phillip. You didn't want me." "You rejected the bond. You rejected me in front of the entire Pack Council." Her voice shook. "Do you know what that does to a person, to a wolf?" "I wasn't rejecting you." "Then what were you rejecting?" "Because I am the bond. You can't separate me from it." "I watched it destroy my parents." The words exploded from him. Silence. "My father was consumed by the mate bond. He couldn't lead. When she died, he followed within a month, just gave up." His chest heaved. "I swore I'd never let the bond control me like that." "So you chose to control it by denying it entirely? By denying me?" She stepped closer. "You didn't save yourself. You just chose a different prison and locked me in there with you. I thought if I kept my distance, you'd be free. The hope was the chain, Phillip. 7 years of hoping you'd choose me. The bond I could have lived with. It was the rejection that killed me." "Luna, Mira," Declan said gently. "We should go." She nodded, turning toward the carriage. Phillip watched her take 1 step, 2, 3. "Mira, please." She didn't stop. "Mira." 4 steps, 5. Something in him shattered. "Please don't leave me." She stopped. Not at the words, at the sound behind her, the whisper of fabric against stone. She turned slowly and saw the impossible. Phillip Mark, Alpha King of the royal pack, on his knees in the courtyard dirt, hands outstretched, head bowed. Guards stared. Declan's mouth fell open. "Alphas don't kneel, ever." 7 years I've been a coward," Phillip's voice was raw. "I told myself I was protecting you, but I was just afraid. Afraid of needing you, afraid of losing you." He looked up, eyes gold and desperate. "And now I'm losing you anyway, because I'm a fool. Every night for 7 years I stood outside your door. My wolf begged me to go in, to claim you." His hand shook. "But I walked away because I'm a coward who was too afraid to feel what you make me feel." "Don't leave me, Mira, please. Give me a chance to prove I can be worthy of you, his voice broke. Because the thought of you in another alpha's arms, it's killing me. My wolf is tearing me apart. Behind Mira, her wolf manifested, black fur, red eyes, massive. She wasn't the rejected Luna anymore. She was a power incarnate, and he was at her feet. Stand up, Philip. He didn't move. I said stand up. Slowly, he rose. 7 years you made me invisible, she said softly. If I stay, things will be different. You don't get to claim the bond only when another alpha threatens it. If I stay, you will earn me every single day. You'll court me, show the pack I matter, not as your political asset, as your mate. She stepped closer. And if you can't, then we end this, properly. But if you can prove you want me, her lips curved slightly, then maybe I'll give you the chance you should have taken 7 years ago. I'll prove it, he vowed. Every day, every moment. You won't be invisible anymore. He reached for her hand, asking permission with his eyes. She looked at his hand, at Declan's carriage, at Philip. Her wolf pressed forward. Mate, ours. But this time she wasn't choosing for her wolf. One chance, Philip. You hurt me again and I'm gone. Permanently. Yes. Then court me, Alpha King. Show me what 7 years of wanting me looks like. Earn what fate gave you for free. Her fingers slid into his palm. The mate bond flared. Both gasped at the intensity. 7 years of denied contact making this simple touch feel like lightning. She looked at Declan. Thank you for seeing me when no one else did. He nodded. If he fails you, my offer stands. Always. His carriage pulled away. Mira and Philip stood alone, hands clasped, the bond singing after 7 years of silence. Where do we start? He asked quietly. Tomorrow night, dinner. Not as your political wife, as someone you're trying to impress. Somewhere public. And tonight? Tonight you go to your chambers, and I go to mine. His face fell. You said you'd earn me. Earning takes time. She stepped closer, rising on her toes, pressed a kiss to his cheek, their first real touch in 7 years. If you do this right, she whispered, then I'll give you everything you've been denying us both. She stepped back, releasing his hand. Good night, Alpha King. Court me well. She walked toward the palace, head high, powerful, leaving him standing in the courtyard, hand pressed to his cheek where she'd kissed him. 7 years of ice beginning to thaw. Chapter 2. The Courting of a Rejected Queen. Sunlight streamed through Mira's windows, warm and golden. She woke slowly, awareness returning in pieces, the soft sheets, the quiet of her chambers. The absence of that familiar ache, the one that had lived in her chest for 7 years, the weight of hope deferred. Something was different. Last night she'd made a choice, not to accept scraps, not to settle for invisibility. She'd made the Alpha King come to her, made him kneel in the courtyard dirt and beg. A knock at her door. Enter, she called. Her lady's maid came in carrying an enormous bouquet. White moonflowers, their petals still dewy and luminous, despite blooming only at night. Flowers that opened in darkness, bringing hidden things to light. From the Alpha King, my lady. Mira sat up, taking the card with trembling fingers. For 7 years I hid, no more. P. She touched the petals, emotions warring in her chest. Flowers wouldn't erase 7 years of rejection, but they were a start, a promise, a first step. Shall I put them in water, Luna? Yes, by the window where I can see them. When Mira walked through the palace corridors an hour later, everything had changed. People looked at her now, not with pity, with curiosity, respect, even fear. She'd made the Alpha King kneel. Whispers followed her like a wake. Did you see? He was on his knees. She made him beg. For the first time in 7 years, Mira wasn't invisible. She was powerful, and the pack could sense it, the shift in the hierarchy, the Luna who'd reclaimed her position not through the bond, but through sheer force of will. She'd barely reached her study when the door burst open. Mira. Her sister Vivian swept in, silver eyes wide, dark curls wild around her face. Oh my gods, Mira. The entire pack is talking about what happened last night. Unlike the careful courtiers who avoided her eyes, Vivian was direct, always had been. Are you insane? Vivian grabbed her hands. You almost left. You almost left your fated mate. He rejected that bond for 7 years, Viv. I know, but... Vivian's voice cracked. You're giving him another chance? Mira pulled her hands free, moving to the window. The moonflowers glowed white against the morning light. I'm giving myself another chance to be chosen, really chosen, not because fate decided it, but because he wants me. And if he can't do it, Mira's voice turned to steel, then I walk away with no regrets. Vivian was quiet for a long moment, then, You made the Alpha King kneel, Mira, in front of the entire pack. Do you have any idea how unprecedented that is? Yes. He'll either worship you for it or hate you for it. Mira turned from the window, her reflection ghost pale in the glass. Then we'll find out which, won't we? In his chambers, Phillip Mark hadn't slept. He paced from window to door and back again, every muscle taut with restless energy. His wolf prowled beneath his skin, agitated and hungry and needy. You look terrible, my king. Thomas, his beta, lounged against the doorframe with barely concealed amusement. She wants me to court her. Philip ran both hands through his hair, making it stand on end. Court her, Thomas. We've been married for 7 years. What does courting even mean? Well, Thomas said dryly, generally it involves treating her like someone you're interested in, not a political treaty you're obligated to maintain. I don't know how to... Philip stopped pacing, frustration bleeding into his voice. I've spent 7 years staying away. How do I suddenly do the opposite? Thomas straightened, his amusement fading into something more serious. You spend time with her. You talk to her. You learn who she is beyond Luna Mira, the wife I ignore. What if I fail? The vulnerability in Philip's voice was raw. What if she realizes I'm not worth the effort? Then you lose her, permanently. Thomas's words were brutal in their honesty. Which is exactly what you deserve for 7 years of stupidity. Philip flinched. Thomas softened. But you have a chance now. Don't waste it. Philip spent the entire day planning, not a state dinner with advisors and protocols, an actual date. He booked the most romantic restaurant in the city, intimate, private, the kind of place meant for lovers, not politicians. He sent away all the guards because this wasn't about security or appearances. This was about her. He agonized over what to wear. Since when did he care? His wolf paced inside him. Mate. Tonight. Need to impress mate. Even his wolf knew they were on thin ice. When Philip knocked on Mira's door that evening, his palms were actually sweating. She opened it, and his breath caught. The deep emerald gown brought out the gold in her eyes. Her hair was swept up, exposing the graceful line of her neck, the place where his mark should have been 7 years ago. She looked cautious but curious, guarded but willing. "You look—" Words failed him. "Beautiful. You look beautiful." "Thank you for the flowers," she said carefully. "They were lovely." He offered his arm. "Shall we?" Every pack member they passed in the corridors stopped and stared. The Alpha King and his Luna together, walking arm in arm. It was unprecedented, historic. Mira felt the weight of their attention, but also something else, vindication. He was showing the pack she mattered, publicly, deliberately. It was exactly what she'd asked for. The restaurant was intimate and candlelit, tucked away in a quiet corner of the city. Philip pulled out her chair. When was the last time he'd done something so simple? And then they sat across from each other. The silence was suddenly loud. 7 years of distance, and now they were supposed to just talk? "So," Mira said. "Tell me about your day." Philip blinked. "My day?" "Yes. What did the Alpha King do today besides panic about courting his own wife?" He was caught off guard by her directness, started to talk about council meetings, border disputes, the usual political maneuvering, then stopped himself. He was doing it again, treating her like a political entity instead of a person. "Actually," he said slowly, "I spent most of the day terrified." "Of me?" Mira raised an eyebrow. "Of failing you? Again." The honesty disarmed her. She'd expected deflection, careful diplomacy, not this raw vulnerability. "What's your favorite season?" Philip asked abruptly. Mira blinked at the change in topic. "Autumn. I love when the leaves change, when everything turns gold and red." "I didn't know that." "You never asked." The words weren't accusatory, just true. They hurt anyway. For the next hour they actually talked, not about politics or pack business, about them, about who they were beneath the titles and duties. Philip learned his wife painted, landscapes mostly, watercolors of places she'd never been but dreamed of visiting. That she sneaked into the kitchens at night for chocolate when she couldn't sleep. That she'd wanted to travel before their marriage. Had dreamed of seeing the northern lights and the southern deserts. Every answer was a revelation. His wife was a complete stranger. "Why did you really reject the bond?" Mira asked finally, setting down her wine glass. Philip's jaw tightened. "I was afraid." "Of what?" "Of this. Of needing you so much it unmade me." He looked at her, gold flickering in his eyes. "The bond is consuming, Mira. Every time you're near, my wolf goes insane. Every time you smile at someone else, I want to rip them apart." He leaned forward. "For 7 years, I've been fighting not to claim you, mark you, lock you away where no one else can have you. That's not love. That's obsession. I didn't want to be that to you. So instead you gave me nothing." "Yes." Mira was quiet for a long moment. "Did it occur to you that I might have wanted to be obsessed over? Even a little?" Philip laughed, but it was bitter. "You deserve better than my wolf's possessive insanity." "Don't I get to decide what I deserve?" The question hung between them, unanswerable. They walked back through the city slowly, and instead of heading directly to the palace, Philip took a detour through the gardens. "I used to see you here," he admitted. "In the mornings, you'd walk through the rose garden." "You watched me?" "Every day. I told myself I was just making sure you were safe." He paused. But really, I was torturing myself with what I couldn't let myself have. They stopped by a fountain, moonlight turning the water silver. 7 years, Mira. 7 years I've wanted you. His voice was raw. Every time you walked past me in the halls, my wolf screamed to reach for you. Every night I stood outside your door, my hand on the handle, knowing I just had to turn it and you'd be there. Do you know what kind of hell that is? Denying your mate when every instinct says claim? His hands were shaking. I thought I was strong. I thought I was protecting us, but I was just a coward. Mira had been holding herself apart, protected behind walls built from 7 years of rejection. But his raw honesty was breaking through. You hurt me, she said quietly. So much. I know. For 7 years I went to bed alone, knowing my mate didn't want me. I always wanted you. That was the problem. They were standing close now, close enough that the bond hummed between them, alive and electric. Then why? Why didn't you just... Because wanting you and needing you are different things. And I need you, Mira. Like air, like blood. And that terrified me. He cupped her face, thumbs brushing her cheeks with aching gentleness. Can I kiss you? His voice was rough, desperate. Please, can I just... She stopped him with a hand on his chest. Not yet. The rejection physically hurt him. She could see it in the way his eyes flashed gold, the way his whole body tensed. Philip, if you kiss me now... My wolf will push for the bond, for the marking, for everything. She held his gaze. And I'm not ready. I need to know this is real, not just the bond talking. You said you'd earn me, so earn me. Every instinct was screaming at him to kiss her anyway, to press her against the fountain and claim, claim, claim until there was no doubt, no distance, nothing but them. But he stepped back. All right. His voice was strained. I'll wait. But Mira, every day I don't get to touch you is torture. She smiled slightly. Good. Now you know how I felt. The following days fell into a new routine. Philip courted her publicly. Breakfast together in the palace dining hall, where pack members openly gawked at the sight of the Alpha King pouring his Luna's coffee, asking about her plans for the day. He walked her to council meetings, his hand at her back, a small touch, but acclaiming nonetheless. He brought her books she'd mentioned liking, asked her opinion on pack matters, and actually listened to her answers. The pack watched in amazement. Their cold Alpha King was devoted, attentive, almost besotted. Mira was no longer the rejected queen. She was the Luna who'd brought the Alpha King to his knees. Other wolves treated her with newfound respect, not because of the bond, but because of her power. Lady Sarah approached her in the corridor one afternoon. Luna Mira, she bowed, formal and respectful. I owe you an apology. I didn't realize... Realize what? That he was yours, truly yours. Sarah's eyes were genuine. The way he looks at you now... I'm sorry for any disrespect. Mira accepted graciously, but inside she was thrilling. This was what being chosen looked like. Then the letter arrived. Mira was in her study when her maid brought it, sealed with Declan's crest. The offer still stands. If he fails you, come west. You'll never be second choice here. Mira stared at the words for a long moment. Then she walked to the fireplace and fed the letter to the flames. But Philip had seen the messenger arrive, had seen the Western Territories seal. He's still in contact with you? His voice was carefully neutral, but his eyes were gold at the edges. He's reminding me I have options. Do you? Philip's jaw was tight. Have options? Mira looked at him steadily. That depends entirely on you. The tension between them built like a storm. They were together constantly now, but not together. No kissing, no marking, no bond completion. The sexual tension was unbearable. Every accidental touch sent electricity through them. Every glance held too much weight. Philip's wolf was going insane. Mate, right there. Claim her. Mira's wolf wasn't much better. Ours, want, need. But she held firm. He had to prove this was real. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks of Philip being everything she'd ever wanted. Attentive, devoted, genuine. She was falling for him. Really falling, not just bond falling. Falling for the man beneath the crown, the one who brought her chocolate at midnight because he'd learned she couldn't sleep. The one who asked about her paintings and actually looked at them. The one who made her laugh. But there was still a wall between them, built from 7 years of rejection, and it was about to be tested. Because on the morning of the Spring Moon Festival, when tradition dictated that mated pairs complete their bonds under the full moon, another letter arrived, not from Declan, from someone far more dangerous. Mira broke the seal with shaking hands, read the words once, then again. Then she looked up at Philip, who'd just entered her study. "We have a problem," she said quietly. His eyes flashed gold. What kind of problem? She handed him the letter and watched his face go deadly calm as he read the threat hidden in polite words, the challenge from a rival pack, the demand for proof of their bond's legitimacy, the subtle implication that a Luna without a completed mate bond was fair game. "They're coming," Mira whispered. "Tonight, to the festival." Philip's hands crushed the letter. "Then we give them proof. Philip." "Tonight, Mira." His voice was rough with barely controlled fury and something else, desperate need. "Tonight, I'm not letting anyone question that you're mine." The bond flared between them, hot and hungry, and Mira realized, ready or not, everything was about to change. Chapter 3. The Claiming. The Spring Moon Festival began at dusk. Mira stood in her chambers, staring at her reflection. Her maid had dressed her in traditional ceremonial white, the color of new bonds, of mates claiming mates under the full moon. The gown was beautiful, all flowing silk and delicate embroidery, but it felt like a costume for a role she wasn't sure she was ready to play. 2 weeks of courting. 2 weeks of falling for Philip all over again, or perhaps for the first time, since she'd never really known him before. But tonight, tradition demanded they complete the bond, and a rival pack was coming to challenge its legitimacy. "You look beautiful, Luna," her maid whispered. Mira touched the bare curve of her neck. By the end of tonight, Philip's mark would be there, permanent, unbreakable, if she let him. A knock at her door. "Come in." Philip entered, and her breath caught. He wore traditional black, the Alpha's claiming clothes. His dark hair was pulled back, exposing the strong line of his jaw, the intensity in his silver eyes that flashed gold when he looked at her. Mira. Her name was a prayer. "You're terrified?" she supplied. "I was going to say breathtaking." He moved closer. "But I understand if you're afraid." "I'm not afraid of the bond, Philip." She met his eyes. "I'm afraid of being hurt again." He flinched. "I know, and I can't promise I'll be perfect. But I can promise this: if you let me claim you tonight, I will spend every day of the rest of our lives proving you made the right choice. The rival pack is the least of my concerns." His voice was rough. Let them come. Let them see you're mine. That you've always been mine, even when I was too much of a coward to claim you. Mira's wolf stirred, pressing against her skin. Yes, ours, claim. What if I'm not ready? She whispered. Phillip stepped closer, close enough that she could feel his heat, smell pine and winter wind. Then we wait. We face them together, and we wait until you are ready. I've already wasted 7 years, Mira. I won't compound that mistake by rushing you now. But if we don't complete the bond tonight, then we don't. His jaw was set. You're worth waiting for. You've always been worth waiting for. Something in Mira's chest loosened. For 7 years she'd been invisible, unwanted. And now he was offering to face Pack's censure, political consequences, everything, just to give her more time. Phillip? She touched his face, feeling the slight stubble on his jaw. Ask me. His eyes widened. Mira, ask me properly. He took her hand, pressed it against his chest where his heart was thundering. Mira Newton, will you complete our mate bond? Will you let me mark you, claim you, make you mine in every way that matters? Will you let me mark you in return? She'd never heard of a Luna marking an Alpha, but she needed it, needed the claim to go both ways. Yes, no hesitation. Yes, God's yes. Mark me, claim me, make sure everyone knows I'm yours. Mira smiled, and for the first time in 7 years, it reached her eyes. Then yes, tonight, under the full moon, I'll complete our bond. But Phillip? She leaned close, her lips almost touching his. You hurt me again, and I'll make what I did in the courtyard look merciful. Understood? He laughed, actually laughed, and the sound was warm and real. Understood, Luna. Now kiss me before I change my mind. He did. 7 years of denial, 7 years of wanting, 7 years of need. It all poured into that kiss. His hands tangled in her hair, ruining the careful updo. Her fingers dug into his shoulders, pulling him closer. The bond flared between them, singing with recognition and relief, and finally, when they broke apart, both breathing hard, Phillip rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he said. I should have said it 7 years ago. I love you, Mira, not because of the bond, because of you. Tears pricked her eyes. Took you long enough. I know, I'm sorry, I'm so... She kissed him again, softer this time. I love you too, despite everything, because of everything. I love you, Phillip. A howl rose outside, the pack gathering for the festival. Are you ready? He asked. No, she smiled. But let's do this anyway. The festival grounds were lit with 1,000 lanterns. The full moon hung huge and silver overhead, bathing everything in ethereal light. Pack members gathered in a circle around the ceremonial clearing, dressed in traditional whites and blacks. The air hummed with power, wolves recognizing wolves, bonds strengthening under the moon's influence. And at the edge of the gathering, a delegation from the Northern Territories, the rival pack. Here to witness or challenge. Mira felt their eyes on her as she and Phillip entered the circle, heard the whispers. Will they actually do it? After 7 years? The bond must be weak. Phillip's hand tightened on hers. The pack's high priestess stepped forward, ancient and powerful, her eyes knowing. Alpha King, Luna, you come before the pack and the moon to complete your mate bond? We do, Philip said, his voice carrying across the clearing. The bond was recognized 7 years ago but never completed. Do you now wish to rectify this? We do. The priestess turned to Mira. Luna Mira, do you accept this Alpha as your mate, your equal, your chosen one? Mira looked at Philip, really looked at him, saw not the cold king who'd rejected her, but the man who'd knelt in the dirt, who'd courted her, who'd waited. I do. And do you, Alpha Philip, accept this Luna as your mate, your equal, your chosen one? I do. His voice was rough with emotion. I've always accepted her. I was just too afraid to admit it. The priestess smiled. Then under the witness of the full moon and the gathered pack, complete your bond. Philip turned to Mira, his hands cupping her face. Last chance to run. Shut up and bite me, Alpha. He laughed, the sound joyous and free, and then he was kissing her neck, finding the place where it curved into her shoulder. His canines extended. I love you, he whispered against her skin. Then he bit down. The bond exploded through them. 7 years of denied connection, of suppressed need, of the mate bond crying out for completion, it all slammed into place at once. Mira gasped, her hands clutching Philip's shoulders as the bond opened fully between them. She could feel him, his love, his regret, his desperate need, his absolute devotion. 7 years of wanting her, fighting it, hating himself for rejecting her. It was all there, raw and honest and overwhelming. Mine, his wolf growled through the bond. Finally, mine. When he pulled back, his mark was on her neck. A silver scar in the shape of crescent moons intertwined. The mark of the Alpha King. My turn, Mira said, her eyes flashing red. She'd never marked anyone before. Didn't know if it would work. But she was done being passive, done accepting whatever he decided to give her. She bit down on his neck, right over his pulse point, and claimed. The pack gasped. Lunas didn't mark Alphas. It wasn't done. But Philip groaned, his hands tangling in her hair, holding her closer. Through the bond, she felt his fierce pride, his satisfaction, his absolute acceptance of her claim. Yours, he was sent back, always yours. When she pulled back, her mark was there, red as blood against his skin. The bond was complete. The priestess raised her hands. Behold, the Alpha King and his Luna, bonded and claimed. The pack howled, the sound rising to meet the moon. All except the northern delegation. Their leader, Alpha Garrett, stepped forward. He was massive, scared, and dangerous. A pretty ceremony, he said, but we heard rumors the bond was rejected, that Luna was unclaimed, available. Philip moved in front of Mira, his eyes pure gold. You heard wrong. Did I? Garrett's smile was cruel. 7 years, Alpha King. 7 years you left your mate unclaimed. That speaks of a weak bond, a weak Alpha. Careful, Philip's voice dropped to a growl. I'm simply stating facts. An unclaimed Luna is fair game. I'm claimed, Mira said, stepping around Philip. I've been claimed. And before you embarrass yourself further, Alpha Garrett, you should know something. She let her wolf surface, letting her eyes glow red. I'm not interested. I wasn't interested 2 weeks ago when I could have left. I'm certainly not interested now that I'm bonded and marked. So take your fair game and get the hell off our territory. Garrett's eyes widened. Then he laughed. Spirit? I like that. He looked at Philip. You're lucky, Alpha King. Luckier than you deserve. I know. Philip pulled Mira back against his chest, his arms wrapping around her waist. Believe me, I know. Garrett nodded once, then turned and led his delegation away. The pack erupted in cheers. Philip spun Mira around, kissing her deeply, and through the bond she felt his relief, his joy, his love. "Take me home," she whispered against his lips. "Your chambers are mine." "Ours," she corrected. "From now on, it's ours." They barely made it to their chambers. 7 years of denied need, and now the bond was complete, demanding, insistent. They stumbled through the door, hands already pulling it close, mouths fused together. "Mira," Philip groaned against her throat. "I know." She pulled him toward the bed. "Me too." What happened next was desperate and claiming and perfect. Two mates finally coming together without fear or rejection or distance. Just them, the bond singing between them, and 7 years of loneliness ending at last. Afterward, they lay tangled together, her head on his chest, his hand stroking her hair. "I'm sorry," Philip said quietly, "for all of it, for making you wait, for making you hurt." "I know." She traced the mark she'd left on his neck. "But Philip, you were right about one thing." "What's that?" "The bond is consuming. I can feel you now, your emotions, your thoughts, your wolf. It's overwhelming." "Does it scare you?" She lifted her head, meeting his eyes. "No, because I can feel that you're just as consumed by me, just as overwhelmed. We're equals in this, Philip." Finally. He pulled her up for a kiss, slow and thorough. "Equals," he agreed, "partners, mates. About time." He laughed, rolling her beneath him. "I plan to spend the next 7 years making up for the first 7. "Just 7 years?" She raised an eyebrow. "The next 70, then." "Better." Through the window, the full moon shone silver and bright, bathing them in its light. The spring festival continued outside, the pack celebrating. But here, in their chambers, Mira and Philip had already found what they were celebrating: each other. 7 years of rejection, ended by one night of claiming. 7 years of invisibility, ended by finally being seen. 7 years of waiting, ended by a love that had always been there, just buried too deep beneath fear to be acknowledged, but no more. "I love you," Philip whispered against her skin. "I love you too," Mira answered, the bond glowing bright and true between them. And for the first time in 7 years, when she fell asleep in her mate's arms, Mira Newton felt like she was finally home. Epilogue. 6 months later, Mira stood in the rose garden, early morning sunlight turning everything gold. She was painting, a landscape of the northern lights she and Philip had finally seen on their delayed honeymoon. The watercolors bled together beautifully, purple and green and silver dancing across the canvas. Arms wrapped around her waist from behind. "Beautiful," Philip murmured, his chin resting on her shoulder. "The painting or me?" "Both." He kissed the mark on her neck, his mark, silver and permanent. "Always both." She leaned back against him, feeling the bond hum contentedly between them. 6 months of being truly mated, and it only got stronger. "The council wants to meet about the western borders," she said. "Later. Right now I'm busy admiring my mate's artwork." "You just don't want to deal with politics before coffee." "Also true." She laughed, setting down her brush to turn in his arms. "I love you, you know." "I know." He kissed her softly. "I love you too. Every day I love you more." Sap. Your sap. She smiled, and through the bond she felt his answering joy. They weren't perfect, still had fights, still had moments where old fears resurfaced, but they were together. Really together, equals and partners and mates in every sense of the word. "Come on," she said, taking his hand. "Let's get you that coffee before the council stages a revolt." "As my Luna commands." They walked back toward the palace, hand in hand, the morning sun warm on their faces, the bond strong and true between them. 7 years of rejection, 6 months of claiming, and a lifetime of love still ahead, the end.